Meeting to order. The first order of business is to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Matt Urban will not be in attendance tonight. He had another personal matter going on today. So it's just Greg and myself. So we have a number of things on the agenda, but we have our counterparts here from the great town of Hardwick, and I think we can take them out of turn.
Absolutely.
Ask them to come on up if you'd like.
You know, on the way through all our garbage.
We can drag these chairs up if we need to.
Come right up into our hot seats here.
Got one on this side if you want to. I mean, fancy ones.
I have Charlie Chase, if you know.
Greg O'Sullivan. We've met, but
Yes, we have.
Greg O'Sullivan.
And we have with us our Council on Aging, and I assume some members from your council as well. And the purpose of this, we were supposed to have met a week or so ago, and we apologize for being unable to get to your meeting, but we thank you for coming into our meeting. And I guess as per our agreement with the town of Hardwick on Council on Aging, we had set it up so that we would have another meeting prior to our going into another year of agreement. And that's what brings us here, is to talk about some of the issues as you see them. And I can start it off by saying, from what I understand, everything has gone fairly smoothly, at least.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we've heard as well.
Yeah.
Anytime you enter into an intermunicipal agreement, you want to look at a couple of things, and the most important being the level of services. You never want those to decline.
Mm-hmm.
And in this situation, the level of services provided to our seniors is just outstanding. I just can't say enough about it. We receive a report every Selectmen's meeting from Gloria Judd, who's the chair of the Council on Aging for Hardwick. And every meeting, the board will ask her, what's new? We want to hear from you. And she's like, it's fantastic. It's great. There's so much to do. It's just a win-win. We had met Andrew and Eileen, and Eileen had a great idea of coming to Hardwick and holding office hours maybe every other week or so. So we haven't worked out the logistics of that, but it just makes a world of sense. So I think it would strengthen the bridge between the Hardwick and Barre seniors, but also for those, not everyone wants to go to a senior center, but they do have needs. And to be able to tap into those resources and to ask questions of her would just be phenomenal. So the way I see it kind of rolling out would be to advertise it as a meet and greet, and really just have kind of an open, for the first time there anyway, to invite the seniors to come out and meet her, get an idea of what the programs are, the resources that could be provided, and that type of thing. But it's been a fantastic experience.
And the membership from Hardwick, I believe, is up quite a bit from what it was. You were having something like 8 go there. We'd always had more coming here, and I think it's growing more, which is exactly what we're kind of hoping that,
Yeah.
you know, the larger participation, the better it becomes for everybody involved,
Right.
and the more participation, because any outing's better when you have, you know, more people to meet, more
And
people
the creation
involved.
of network, you know, and bonding, you know, just there's so much strength in that.
Yep. We had a tough task choosing our director. We had some really good candidates brought forward, but we deliberated for a while. But I think we've got
I have heard
the
nothing
right
but the
choice.
best, and being able to sit down and meet with her and chat for a while. Yeah, I think
She knows what she's
you
doing.
did well.
She knows what
Absolutely.
she's doing. I like the, she gives us the calendar and the monthly reports of what's going on and what she has coming up, and it's good to see someone take that much, you know. And energy and putting into it down there.
And it's important in that role,
Oh, very,
you know.
very so. Good. I think the office hours are a great idea down there, depending how we work it in. Because ours has to, the center has to stay open, so that's logistics that I'm sure she can work out for how she'll do that. But I think that's a really smart idea to start to, venture over and get people to come locally and meet and see what's out, so.
Yeah.
Good.
I think one of the questions we had when we discussed this last year to put it in was some of the transportation-related issues, and I understand those we've got two different regional transit groups, and I understand it's going fairly well from what I hear. Now, I don't know if somewhere I had heard there was a possibility that there might be some overlap where people from Barre could use the Montechusett one. I don't know.
Well, I think one of the things that we discussed was really being able to, because they do have their clear delineation, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense where these lines are drawn. But I think the way we left it was that we would research that and come up with the best avenue that we can.
Okay. Okay. Now, we also need to redo the agreement, because we only had a one-year agreement, right?
Right.
Yep, so I mean, at this point, I don't think that there's anything that really needs to be changed in it. I think from our perspective, we need to kind of look to see how we want to treat the agreed upon revenues, whether or not you want to continue that to go into the general fund or be its own separate 53E&a-half revolving fund that's accessible only to the senior center. But that can be something that, it doesn't really affect you guys, it more affects us on our
right.
side. We were talking about the next, possibly not this next year, but the year after, looking at the participation levels and seeing whether or not we want to start using participation percentages to go toward the actual assessment, or continue to do it at the flat rate. But we were going to continue to look at to see how those numbers rose and whether or not it became a more even split of Hardwick versus Barre residents over the next year.
So you'd recommend continuing with the arrangement?
Yes.
Financially and everything at this point?
Yeah, I would say at this point, considering that we're at 8 months into the agreement, and the numbers have been climbing, but I don't think it's really at a point where we can say, yeah, this is what the participation level is going to be. Let's give it a year to kind of still work its way out. And then in a year from now, we can look at it again and see whether or not they've kind of leveled off and whether or not we should look at participation rates. Because we can easily track that based off of everybody that comes in and scans in with the My Senior Center app.
Okay. Eileen, or the respected council members from the two towns, do you have anything you want to add, or members of the council?
No, I think things are going fairly well.
Very well, I think.
Like we said, the participation has grown, which is what I've been working towards. I'm always looking for ideas, so if folks have ideas or anything of what they'd like to see take place, I'm always open for that. But right now, I think things are, they've only been there for, 3 months now, so they seem to be going fairly well, so that's a plus.
What are the numbers for participants, just not total daily, but I know we talked about it at the finance committee meeting, the total number of participants that have
I can
been
compare
coming
years
down?
or months.
There are more interest right now, how many we've got coming in from Hardwick now, and how they are percentage-wise
It's
in our numbers. 36 from Hardwick?
36 from Hardwick since July 1st.
Okay, and then in that same frame, how many do we have that come down from, from town here in Barre?
It was 162.
Okay, so they're running about
So that's
18% or so
increased
of.
It's almost doubled.
Okay, I'm just trying to look at, I'm the bad guy, I always look at the money. I'll look at the finances and say, if I look at our expenses to have Eileen and run the facility and everything else, and I try to look at those expenses, I have no idea, I haven't done it yet, I'm being totally fair. And I just said we'd look at finances in that manner, because obviously, we have the building that we pay for, and of course, we have the employee we pay for. So those are the big expenses that you guys obviously said you can't do it anymore for 8 to 10 people. So luckily, you get to take that off your books. And I'm not sure of the exact numbers we have. I know it wasn't minuscule, but it's certainly a huge number that we have here to contribute now, and I'd like to get a chance to look at
Oh,
that
you should.
and
you
try
should
to
compare
come
it
up,
to your
like,
budget that you typically,
if we set our operating expense down, the total is like, I don't know,
It's $66,000 total.
is our expense.
But that including the formula grant money.
Okay, I want to look at our contribution, yeah,
Right.
beyond, because their formula money goes in as well.
Exactly.
I
So,
wanted to
I
see-
mean, just at that, it's about 11,000, and we're at, it's 7,500 right now, plus the formula grant. Give me just 1 second
so
to
I
see if I
think
can
that
do it.
was
a
about
little-
12,000 in total.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect anything to change much, but I just try to do, because once again, we've got to
Makes
be,
sense, it makes sense.
everyone in town would like to get more and do more as we can, and
And
we're
that was
working
the
on other
nature
avenues,
of the
but.
conversation that Andrew and I had
Mhm.
with Eileen, was that Hardwick doesn't want to be a burden and have a negative financial impact on Barre. And again, the level of services has just been phenomenal. So we want to keep that good relationship. One of the questions I asked was, are there any expected capital expenses that we should be taking a look at, that type of thing. I was pleased to see, not really, and there were different avenues that we could take to get that work done.
Unless we think about our own van sometime in the future, but then it deals with someone being licensed to drive it, but there's other issues with that. But one of the things I know that we, when we had our setting the salary, that was a point of topic when we did this. And she's asking for more in her budget reports this year, which would be nice to be able to do it.
Right.
But we can't hit our budget further to do that. So I'm hoping to be able to give her more and offer her more and offer everybody more. If we do get a little more from you guys, depending on, I don't know what he's looking at in numbers, that would help us ease that. Because obviously everyone is happy, wants to keep her, and we want to keep her. But I can't, I can't sit here and tell everyone, sure, we want to give you a 8 to 9% increase in
Well, I
your
think,
salary without,
Andrew, it's gonna be really
without
important
coming up
that
with
we
it.
meet soon
Yeah.
then, because we are in the midst of budget season and need to really crunch down. and-
Yeah,
I
and
just
we're
read-
starting that too. And
Yeah, so I just got I just grabbed the general fund request number that I put into this year's budget. That was 56,737. 18% of that is 10,212.
Mhm.
So, that's as a foundation
Yeah,
number.
and that would be out, so that's outside of
Outside
the
of the
grants and
formula
stuff.
grant.
That would be a fifth of, or 18% of. And my percentage may be off. That was a quick estimate from the numbers we said. We can finalize it and get it closer, but
Right.
that would give certainly way less than you trying to keep a
Oh, gosh,
facility
yeah.
going. And it would certainly help us have some money so we could work towards, and it helps me tell the town we want to move towards what she's asking for. I'd like to be able to say, sure, your budget looks good like it is. But right now, I wouldn't be able to unless I can justify coming up with some of that.
Okay.
In addition to what we're operating on now, so.
Okay, so I don't think we need to take any action at this point.
I'd rather not till we get mad anyways, but to discuss it and see where you guys stand, and you can see if you can come up with similar to that or something in addition to the formula grant money and stuff that will help.
We'll get the hard percentages.
Right.
That way you guys have a baseline.
Then if our budget down there, our budget number flatline increases, we have a justification for it.
Right.
And we did the same thing with the fire department, talking about trying to get EMTs in and staff them versus how much money we gotta get them to do it. And we'll find out this year how well justified that is in their numbers, if we can justify the full-time staff. We're just in the position we have to. Everyone is. The school's still, it's tough. They're not funded. We're funded or not, it's a large chunk of everyone's budget, and we're watching. But I think this is one community agreement that's working out pretty well.
It is, it's been recognized that way, so CMRPC had asked for a copy of the agreement, and we could expect to see it become a model for the state, which is pretty cool.
And you never know with participation in other towns. I don't know how much room we have left down there to expand, but there may be, some towns are pretty small, like New Braintree. I don't know how their participation is or what they have. I mean, they can come here anyways. We can't stop people from coming. But it may make sense to open that up and
And to look at more of a regional agreement versus.
Yep.
and
sometimes I don't like these regional things, but sometimes they're not
sometimes
bad.
they work,
Yeah, yep, they really do. It would help set up the shared expenses so no one has surprises, then we'd all have a say. And because right now, we're gonna set the salary and asking you guys to contribute as opposed to everyone having a say in the future, which I like that too, but I think we're a ways from that still. But That's
Okay.
always my big concerns of money. I think, I love what I'm seeing in the letters too. I like the newsletters. I like the idea she's saying about trying to make some time down there. I think it's
I
gonna.
love the
it's
level
gonna
of
go well.
service, I just can't speak.
The activity she
enough
has
to it.
going on that calendar
So
every month
amazing.
is like, holy smoke, how do you think of this stuff? And I would
I'm
love to,
gonna try.
I wish I was around town more of the day, I could go down and check it out and do some things, but
Yeah.
I'm not around to get to go look, unfortunately, so. But I would imagine it's going well.
Okay, so I guess we're all set then. I
Okay.
thank you for coming in.
Before,
Yeah,
I
what-
want to see if, I was gonna see this.
Stanley, I'm sorry.
So all the money coming in from Hardwick, it's used at the senior center, not used for?
It goes in, it's been going into the general fund.
But it's, we have to fund the senior center for everything we fund it for, so.
I understand.
Rather than set, like he said, we can set up a separate account for it. And I'd rather not start another process to keep another account. I'd rather go in the general fund.
Okay.
All that money will go towards it and more. And if we do have more money come in, it will go towards it. So, if we could spend a little less in our budget, but not say bring in 10,000 and we'll keep 8. No, we might get to reduce ours by 2 or 3 or something. So we have a little less expense and pass most of that on. So I'd like to see it go on. I'd like to see the contribution, help reduce some of our expenses off our budget, which would be the idea. So, I mean, if we did an account that way.
Budget at the senior center, or?
No, I mean, in our general fund. Right now, everything for there comes out of our general fund. So we can say it goes in the general fund, but everything we pay to the senior center is out of our general fund, except for the things that are coming in on the grants. We're not talking about grant money. We're talking about what we spend from our general fund towards the facility and towards employees down there.
Yeah, we actually don't, it would be, if we did it that way that you're suggesting, Stanley, it would be, we'd have to set up a revolving fund so that money could go in and be spent out of that. And we generally do not do that. We have very, very few revolving funds. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any money in the general fund, and, it would be very, very difficult to budget the whole town that way.
Right, and I think this year, it's set up the way that it is because this agreement came, I believe,
After,
after
yeah.
town meeting.
After town
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
It was
Right.
after town
So-
meeting.
So there was no other mechanism for this agreement to go except for the way that it is.
We'll take a town meeting
There was
vote.
no town meeting vote to approve a revolving fund, so the funds the only place the funds could go was to general fund.
So if we did set a revolving fund up and the funds from Hardwick went directly into that fund, then we'd just be reducing what we take out of our coffers, out of our general fund, because we wouldn't have to spend as much. So it's easy, I mean, if it was regionalized sometime in the future, it's gonna have to be its own fund and set up. Maybe, though, we'll start to see a realistic capital plan from down there. Maybe not for something big, but for maybe portions of things that are more than 5,000 or 6,000. Maybe we have a capital plan to buy some equipment or buy some things down there that we can start then to plan for as well. And that might be worth setting up a fund for, a capital fund, to start to put money aside specifically for that. Which if we did that, it would be designated for the senior center. And both towns could contribute towards that capital fund if we wanted to set goals and agree on them as well.
Yeah, Pat?
We're gonna be very interested in the results of the research that you're gonna be doing on your transportation. We have, like you said, we have very strict guidelines for the company that we're using, and it would certainly be beneficial to some of our Barre people to be able to use your van.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I understand sometimes their hours just fall outside of office visits and things, and
It's
it
not
makes a
that,
visit not
it's the
possible
area
because.
where they travel.
Oh, so
Our
they-
vans, the van that we have in Barre, the
Mhm.
WRTA, does not go to like Gardner on a normal basis. And some of the other places that they go routinely, they go anywhere. Their van will go anywhere.
There's a
Ours
lot
is
to do in
restricted.
Gardner. I'm surprised
So
that's not a
We're gonna be
location.
interested in hearing what you find out with your research on that.
Yeah.
I think we want to look into that anyways, because I think Gardner is the closest point we have to that many things, from several grocery stores to several pharmacies, even in the hospital, and there's a Walmart, and
There's
I mean,
two
there's.
different types of agreements, though.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We deal with MART, correct? Is that
No,
what it is?
No, we do
WRTA.
not.
Because Mart's out
And
in
you
that
guys
area.
deal with,
With Mark.
right,
Mhm.
so they're two different companies that operate differently.
And right now.
Yeah, but I'm saying we might want to look at that in general,
Yeah.
because I
And
think,
Mark's contract has been in limbo for a year now, and a lot of the towns are not happy with the proposed contract, so it's kind of up in the air as to what, in the end, what's gonna happen to Mark,
Mm-hmm.
because if all these towns are going, not doing it, then they may cave a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, and we can move forward. But right now, we're kind of in limbo with them, along with all the other communities that's within their region. So that seems to be part of the issue, is that there's a regional, and it's just bizarre how they draw those lines.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
weird. It might
Right,
be
there's
territorial
quite a
between the
s-
companies.
I was,
Yeah, we-
believe it
we
or not, I
discussed
was
it.
around
Okay.
when the agreement was made. If you can believe, there's quite a story with that, and sometimes it's an interesting story.
Do you have anything else you want to add at this, before we,
Yeah, just a minute.
Go ahead. On the transportation issue though, I've looked into that because I've had a lot of complaints with Elder Bus. And it's a process.
yeah,
It has to go to town meeting to change transit authorities, has to go to state
Right.
for passage and then to Mark.
Mhm.
And I know Athol just did that a few years ago, and it took them about 9 months to do that.
Yeah,
So,
and we were discussing it at our meeting, and the one thing was we were waiting to see what happened with your contract before
With
making any
mine.
sort of move toward it,
Right.
because we didn't wanna go, all right, we're gonna jump on your bus, and then, all of a sudden
There's been a
have you
lot.
guys
but
change.
whatever the time is it takes, if it's needs to be done in the future, then we do it, and we deal with that time. You know, putting it to a town vote, putting a bid out for it, and getting the numbers from people and finding a service, bringing it before the town, these are easy to do. You know, we can have a special town meeting, we have usually at least one in the late fall, if not one in the spring too sometimes. So we get chances to bring it before the town. In the state, I don't think it's that bad going through it.
Well, depends on what the issue is.
Yeah, it's a more, you know, I don't think this is a hot button for the state. I don't think it's one of those things that they're gonna labor over or worry about. So that, innocuous, I would call it. It really, it's inconsequential to them, so they probably get it through easily and quickly.
It might not, well, it might not face a lot of backlash, but
Right.
usually the the easier the topic is, the longer it takes it to play out, so they wait to that last second of
You
the
hope not,
legislative
but-
session to go and write on, to sign everything, that's
But if
easy.
it becomes a choice, then we just do it, and we have to, you know, we can't, if the change is the right thing to do, we can't be worried about the time frame and the difficulty. We just got to do it. And, you know, put one foot forward and start in the path, and we'll get through it. But it may
Okay.
not even be there, we don't know.
Question?
You were talking briefly about a regional COA
Mhm.
merging. Is that realistic?
We don't know. I mean, judging from how this went, is it realistic to think that another town might come in and do it?
So let's clarify a little bit. It wouldn't be a regional COA. So the COAs, Council on Aging, would be separate and different. Each town would keep their respective Council on Aging. When we're talking municipal agreement, what it means would be for the use of the senior center, right?
And the
So
director.
right now, it's just between the two towns. Now, when we first sat down to go over this and try to look at the logistics and if this could potentially work out, there were other towns that were interested. But at that point, Barre wasn't sure, Hardwick wasn't sure, so let's see if these two, if it works, and then at a future date, if it seemed and there still was interest or that, Barre could certainly entertain the idea. So that's kind of where we're at. We're not saying that we're gonna go forward and do that. You know, Barry's not at this point.
Right.
But there's certainly the opportunity.
We need to see how the activity levels are, the participation, the kind of room we have down there for it. Maybe we grow enough that we can't look for any more people and we're done. But if there is space for it, why not? And if, you know, more participation can mean, you know, more money coming in from different areas would help us with capital purchases and making things better down there. Each town by itself, you can only spend so much. And Hardwick got to the point that they can't have a senior center like that, and they can't pay a director, because there's so little participation, there's no grant money coming back, and you just can't afford it. So obviously, the more people in there, the more towns coming into it, the more affordable it becomes, and which makes it nicer, just in general.
I appreciate knowing
Yep.
this process is happening. of going through.
And I'd go further than facility. I'd like to see the director under that agreement too, so everyone has a say in how the salary goes and stuff like that. And just, we'd all have our councils. But we don't have to keep, I don't feel we'd have to keep point on the employee and say, we run the salary and the contract. If it becomes bigger, I'd like everyone to get more of a say in that. But right now, it's 82% ours, so we still have the say in that, but.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming in for this discussion. I thought it went well. Thank you for coming over. We appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Sorry we didn't make it last time.
good to see
We're
you.
always nuts.
Good seeing you again. We'll
All right, so
probably be
hope-
meeting on the school budget at
Hopefully
some
Andrew will
point.
shoot you a number close to that that we can work with. And,
For sure, we'll meet on a,
Get the real one.
if that can, yeah, I noticed at the meeting on Wednesday that she was trying to put back in for the money that we didn't allow.
yeah, I know.
And not to say, like we said before, not to say that the value's not there, but our money's not there. So if we can have something beyond, that would certainly let us keep her happy with where her range was.
Yes.
That's why I say that, because we talked about that before. That pay scale's not there for us, but if we can go beyond what they're doing, start looking at, these are our fixed costs and pay a percentage, and they seem very agreeable. I think they were surprised they're gonna get out without that conversation. But that would help us give her, that she's looking for like 3 more. There you go. There's 3 for her for that, and the rest we can put into things, or a couple off our budget.
Tim, are you here for the Lions Club? Okay, I think we can take Tim at this point with the Lions Club out of,
Sure, whatever you want.
yeah, I think.
You're running it.
Okay, rather than have you sit here through the meeting and come right up and,
Well, as you said, I'm the president of the Lions Club, as you all know, and we're planning an event on Saturday, April 21st. It's a food drive to benefit the Barre Food Bank. Our plan is to have 3 locations in town. One at the Barre Foods parking lot, the other one hopefully outside the recycling center, and the third one on the common in front of Picasso's restaurant, actually right across the street. What it would entail, it'll be from 9 to 12 noon on the 21st. It would entail, we probably have a couple of trucks there to put the food in that is donated that morning. And probably the members might have a vehicle or 2. And I've already spoke to Chief Carbone about this. He was okay. He requested that maybe we tell them in the morning so they could cone it off for us a little bit.
You talking like near the bank up in the common on that
No,
side, or
no,
whereabouts would you plan in the common?
Picasso's restaurant,
Oh,
okay, right across the street on the common there.
so yeah, on that bank, on that side road that goes back towards the bank, so not on 122 side, on
It'd be on Common
on
Street.
that common street, okay.
Street.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Just hoping it wasn't gonna be someplace in the
No,
main thoroughfare, because it gets crazy up on the other side of that.
I know, but we want to be noticed, but not a traffic hazard at the same time, so.
And of course,
We have plenty of parking there.
of course, the Barre Foods parking lot's not ours to give,
I
so
know.
you just, that's.
And I have to speak to the person who runs the recycling center. I have his contact information. I'll have to give him a call here soon. But I really came, of course, just for permission to use the common.
okay.
And as I said, Chief Carbone, I spoke to.
Has
said
anyone,
he was all on board with it.
Okay.
has anyone talked to the chief just to get anything from him directly? Or?
Yes, I did.
No, I mean from our board. I know, but I always like to make sure we follow up and get stuff ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And for example, once we had a gentleman here for poll petition that told us, oh, absolutely, all that paperwork went through your DPW and he signed off on it. He'd never seen it.
Yeah, I
So-
think, Tim actually had spoken with the chief before he dropped the form off to us, but we can get something in writing from the chief that he's fine with this.
Yeah, just, that's
have
all, I just
time, so-
make sure, I don't think it's gonna be any issue, and I don't think we need anything from the police, but, we just make sure he, it definitely is aware of it, that's all.
Is that something you do?
I can take care of that. Yeah, yeah, we can take care of that.
Okay,
Yeah, if we were blocking the common, doing events that needed police, whatever, then we've gotta get something ahead of time, but I just wanna make sure that officially we make sure that he knows it's going on, so that,
Okay.
it's there. So I make a motion, we accept the request to use the town property for this, for the Lions Club?
okay, and I will second it. Discussion? Do you have anything you want to add, Tim, or?
Not really.
No?
It's just-
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote in favor.
All right.
Aye. Okay, I guess we're all set.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Have a
Yep,
good
thank
night.
you for putting it on.
No trouble. That's what we do.
Yep.
Help local charities
Yep,
and organizations.
it's good, it's a good thing.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, now, we'll go back to the beginning, I guess. Public comments, did anybody have anything they wish to bring up at this time in the meeting? Sam?
Yes, I do. Thank you. The reason I came tonight is because I listened to the Finance Committee and Selectmen meeting last week or so. And I understood and I felt everybody's compassion for the request for the request of the Quabbin Regional School System. And it seemed to me that the Finance Committee and the Selectmen, because I didn't, were almost throwing up their hands and saying, we only can do the best we can do. That's what my opinion was. And I did a little homework. And maybe I haven't been to all the meetings, and clearly I don't read the Barre Gazette, I'm sorry. Sometimes I do, but I don't always read it. But there is a report called the Collins Report. And I looked through it briefly, and I've discussed it with people a lot smarter than I am in regards to schools. And they say, well, doesn't everybody see the Collins Report? How can we even think of negotiating with an organization that was not supported very well by this Collins organization, which does analysis of state-run businesses, or state-run organizations? And it almost seems as though the towns really don't know what to do. And I guess I'm telling the towns, look at the Collins Report, and they're smarter than we are. I mean, I had this conversation with someone the other day, and I thought of all you guys, and you don't make a penny here. You work your behinds off to try to make a difference, and you are fighting or negotiating with the Quabbin Regional School System that has a budget of, how much is the budget?
$32 million.
$32 million. The finances are run by someone who makes $122,000 a year, $750 towards retirement or something of the sort. It's in the book.
Mhm.
I don't make it up. And $1,000 for travel. Now, I don't think any of you guys, you might get money for travel, but you sure in hell don't use it, from what I understand. So, this is clearly an unfair fight. And I shouldn't say a fight, an unfair negotiation. And there's a school called Tantasqua. And the Tantasqua School, from what I've been able to read and understand, although clearly I'm not a financial genius, they're able to stay within budget. They cost, it's similar to what the Quabbin Regional is. Everybody's telling me that there's so much nepotism at the Quabbin Regional that you can't believe it. Now I'm hearing stories that Maureen Marshall, even though she retired, this is a story now, I don't know how true it is, that if she retires, she's gonna work to come back as some sort of a consultant. Now, great if it was an unpaid consultant, but clearly, she has to relay in the position of the consultant. And also, from what I've been able to understand, there are a lot of females in that business. There's only one male there, if with any kind of authority. And I just think that people in the towns, and all the towns, need to think about where we're going with this monster that is eating us alive, that we don't seem to have much control about doing. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I think that meeting, I don't think anybody threw up their hands, because I think we've got one figure from the school district, and I think as we go along, they're gonna have to meet us part way on this, and we're gonna have to work something out with them. So I think that we can't pay with what we don't have. I certainly think they understand that, and we will have to work it out. That's what we do in this country, so.
No, but the Collins report is pretty specific.
I've been through the Collins reports, I went to their meetings, I went to all their public hearings.
And if they're right, I mean, from what I understand, the Collins organization was the organization that provided us a capital plan.
Right,
The same organization.
right. And I don't know about Tantascwa, because I know they can do their assessments completely different than any other school district around here. And based on assessed evaluation, I suspect, being from Barre, we probably would not fare too well with that system that they have at Tantascwa. And I would say go to Sturbridge and find out what they think. The town with the most value is gonna pay proportionately much more.
Just the people in Barre, from what I'm hearing, someone was telling me, who works for the town, that they have to get another job just to pay their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a shame. A lot of people don't have to get another job to pay their taxes. But to have somebody who works for the town and who's dedicated for all the years that they've been working here, needing to do that, that doesn't seem to be any much logic.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Old business, did you have anything you wanted brought up tonight under old business?
No, I don't think there's anything
Okay.
specifically into old business.
Andrew or Fay, or?
Nope.
Okay,
We have some carryover items that will be discussed at the next meeting.
okay. Okay, I placed the next question on, about Felton Field. I was approached by a member of the Felton Field Commission about needing some work done down there. And I do not have any figures, but I just wanted to let the board know that I had been approached by a member, and they might be looking for an article at the town meeting. I indicated that I didn't know how much money we were gonna have, and that we had to work out everything in the town budget, including with the schools, which I think they were well aware of. So, I said we'd have to have some hard numbers from them before we could move ahead.
It wasn't too long ago, there was probably $30,000 or $40,000 put into the Little League field, and thousands of hours of time, all by donations. The people that use the field, softball in Little League, the coaches, parents, players, the people that sponsor it, they did fundraisers, they donated funds. Felton Field in general is probably used by a very small portion of the public. Obviously the people go down there to play the sporting events in the fields, they do take care of and maintain. For a while, my previous wife was very involved with the horse clubs and did riding and driving, and you volunteer and put time in. And they certainly have the ability to fundraise. if there's something they want to fix down there. I don't even know what it is at this point we're talking about, but, certainly the arenas and the buildings and things down there pretty much are just dedicated to the riding and driving clubs. So I would hope they would look more towards fundraising and volunteer time, like the Little League did. It was a very
Yeah.
big undertaking by the Little League. New fences, new dugouts, they tore up the whole infield, they reshaped it, they brought in, new dirt for the infield and new sod in places.
Mm-hmm.
Fixed up the food concession stands, new deck on it. It was all done with volunteer time and contributions, so I don't think that's something that's, I'll still listen to what it is when they give us some ideas,
Yeah.
but I would probably hint back my opinion that they ought to look towards fundraising. They certainly have the ability. And contacts, and when they have their events, they bring in sometimes, dozens and dozens of trucks and trailers of people. Horse riding is not a poor man's luxury. It's an expensive sport to stay in. So I certainly think they could fundraise and come up with funds.
Okay.
Aren't I mean?
Alrighty, I guess we can move on to the wage authorization.
Nope.
They may mean the
election
building.
warrant.
Oh, the
It's money
election,
in the
did I,
building,
I
but
did
If they mean the
Can I
grounds and, you know what I mean?
check that off before I even dealt with it. Yeah, we have to sign the election warrant for the upcoming election. Do we need to vote on that?
Just a vote to.
Just a matter of signing it, right?
I think you just make a vote to sign it, Charlie.
Okay. It's got the 3 ballot questions as we discussed last week.
Straightforward. How soon does it have to be signed and out? Should we, we could make a motion, we could move on it and sign it and let Matt come sign it
Yeah,
if he
Matt
wants.
will make sure.
Or we could wait to another meeting when he's here.
I'm not sure, Ellen did prepare it and give it to us, so I'm assuming
Yeah.
she,
It's probably getting down to the deadline, is my
Yeah, considering we're
suspicion,
about a
so.
month away from the election,
Yeah.
so.
All right, I'll make a motion that we sign the warrant.
Okay, and I will second that. Discussion? Matt will be given the
Yep.
opportunity
You
to
can sign or not. It doesn't
Yeah, I don't
need
want to
but
see it go out with 2 of the 3
Yep.
members.
He can certainly sign if he wants, and I'm sure he'd make an
Yeah.
effort to come in for it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. In favor?
All right?
Aye, that's unanimous. Now, I guess we got the wage authorizations.
So I know there was a question about the one for Joe Hood the last time.
Mhm.
So I did speak with Stephanie about that. She said that he is keeping the same position, but now that he is going, basically the increase in hours is putting him at a level where he could be qualified for benefits, that she went, she put
So-
in the wage authorization.
So she wants to create another benefit position.
Basically, yes.
Okay, that's gonna be a problem, I think.
I don't think it's
That's-
another benefited position.
That's what
because
he just
she-
explained, if it's,
Well,
I think there's a benefited person that's resigned.
But like,
then why wouldn't we
Sandy.
why wouldn't we move this employee into that benefit position?
It could be.
Bumping no, that's not what he just said. Bumping same position, bumping the hours into a benefited. We have to make very clear that he's gotta go into that benefited slot.
right.
This is why Matt wanted to kick it last time, to make sure we weren't creating another benefited slot. It sounds like we are. So I think we're the same concern.
I think the resignation from Kayla, she's benefited, I believe.
Right, but that's not the position that this is filling.
Right, so
There's-
that's gonna be it's gonna be a no for
Basically,
me.
it's combining, there's one person that they're not rehiring the second library assistant. So this
But-
is taking up the position.
I understand, but if we have the benefited position at that pay rate, we could move this person into that position and then leave his position open, and we're okay with that. That there's no reason to raise him to the benefited pay level and still have just an unused benefited position.
But that position's going away. These two positions are basically combining. To
There's
be-
going, and there's gone. It's not gone. But that's why, unless I mistake, and Matt's not here to say, but that's why he questioned it last time. That's why he wanted to hold off.
Right, but I think what Andrew's saying is there was 2 resignations recently. This one position, additional hours, is to fill the 2 positions.
No.
No?
No. This,
He's saying the
There's
same
one
position,
person-
raising his hours and his pay.
right, to fill the vacancy of one, but it's not full amount, each person has about 18 hours. This person's going up to 25.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the point that as I recall why we held it up, that's gonna create a benefited position, and let's lateral the
Well,
employee into someone left, there's a vacant benefited position, lateral them into that slot, that she can still utilize them however she wants, but that's the slot on the roster that he's gotta go into, that's the benefited slot, and leave these hours at 19 where they should be. That's, it won't go past me on that point, I'm sorry, but it's,
Okay.
I believe that's Matt's intent too, and I certainly don't want to guess on why, but I'm very sure that's why he was worried that we were making another benefited position. Once he rises to that level, you can't deny him the benefits, period. And if there's, I don't understand why if there's a position open, they can't change him on the roster to that position, put him in that slot, and approve the wage in the benefited position that already exists.
Okay, so we'll take it up at the next meeting?
All right? Got it clear?
Mhm.
Well, I don't think that, these are basically two unbenefited positions. There's no benefited position that exists. This is taking this library assistant position, so rather than having, let's just say three library assistants, creating 2 library assistants with one of them being benefited, because their hours are over 20, or over the threshold of 20 hours.
But yes,
And it's not.
once you raise the hours,
Right.
I mean, technically you can say, yeah, I'm gonna go work 3 part-time jobs, 10 hours each. None of them are benefited. But, if anybody worked for the same company, 3 10-hour jobs, and argued to the state, hey, I'm working 30 hours here, they're splitting it up to cut me out of benefits.
So
you
Kayla
lose.
was benefited.
Kayla was, yes.
She
but-
was.
But this has
So
nothing to do with
so
her
let's
position.
Move this person into that position, is
No,
my
no,
opinion.
this has nothing to do with Kayla's position.
Okay.
Kayla's position is a different position. This is another library assistant that had left
Okay.
recently. So this person is basically
Picking up the slack.
picking up the slack by increasing their total amount of hours and being assigned additional responsibilities.
In lieu of hiring another 18-hour employee, we're gonna bump this person up by 9 hours.
Mhm.
But that 9 hours, when you add in the benefits and everything else, will cost us way more than the 18, I believe, in the long run. It doesn't, I understand fully. We had two low-end jobs, we're deleting one, this guy's picking up the slack and bumping his hours. But by doing so, we must pay him benefits when we do that. We can't skirt that rule and say no. So if he's gonna be benefited, I wanna see him move to the other slot that's already open.
But what if he decided not to take the benefits? Would that change?
I don't think that's,
It's whether or not the intent of the board is to even open that door. It's whether or not.
you get into a sticky issue when you deal with the labor laws in the state, the things you have to do. Something as simple as when you have an 8-hour workday, you've got to offer them, you don't have to offer them a break, but you have to give them a lunch. And if you don't make sure we discussed this, if you don't make sure they take the lunch, if you say, well, we'll let you leave a half an hour early or eat at your desk, you can get in trouble for that. So the employer really needs to make sure that the employees take the break and document the break, because the appearance is you're not giving it to them. And if they volunteer to not take benefits, the appearance is still that we're not paying the benefits and we're putting them over the hours. And that can come back to haunt us. And it certainly means they can change their mind and say, you know what, I want the benefits later, and I have the right to them, I'm working 25 hours. I don't want to play games, I don't want to figure a way around stuff, it's cut and dry. He's under 25 hours, or he's going to the benefited position. And if the position's there, I don't understand why there's any difficulty, just change his title. He can do the same duties, that's up to Stephanie, if
Well,
the duty's gonna be the
Right,
same.
there's no, this position doesn't exist anywhere else. This isn't even a change of title. This is, just taking that position,
I
increasing the
understand.
number of hours.
I understand, but it legally meets a threshold of getting the benefit, and I don't want to cross that threshold, I don't want to mix the terms. It's gonna stay below the hours, be unbenefited, or it's gonna go over and be benefited and be in a slot for it. Doesn't mean the board wouldn't consider making it benefited if we drop the other position completely, and we can look at the pay difference between two 18-hour jobs versus a benefited 25, and we could possibly go that route. But that would mean, changing the assignment over there, taking that slot away permanently, and moving this one. And if we did that on paper, it might work, but we need to see it on paper, and see it finalized. I don't like we're gonna do this and play the shell game. It's easy enough to do this straight up and obvious and not have to say, well, in the local garage, you're $20 short, and the guy says, well, hey, you got a box of cigars, I'll take a couple. You can do that there, not here. It's not gonna work that way, I don't think.
Okay. Do we want Stephanie or somebody from the trustees to come in?
Andrew can work it out with them and come back.
Yeah,
I'm being
okay.
really clear. Maybe Matt could come in and say, nope, that's fine, and override it. But he's not here. I do believe this was his concern, and I agree with that concern. So if it comes back conforming to what I'm looking for,
I can ask the library
Right.
if they're willing to come in to give any additional information on it.
And-
Okay,
This is all the
that's fine.
information that I have.
and if they're not willing to move him into the benefit position, then we need to see something in writing that's going to eliminate off the roster that position that he's taking over. And I'd like to see then, it would have to be you to do the numbers to what that benefited cost will be versus the two singular unbenefited costs. It's gonna be darn close. But
Okay.
as it is, it's just stretching the establishment more than it was intended, I think. Okay, so
Okay.
move to table.
And we have,
The other two are just step increases.
Yep.
John's,
yeah, I got it.
Joe and
Sorry.
Jim.
yeah, Joe Brown
You
and
need to sign these, Charlie.
Yep.
Mine.
When they're ready. Yep. What is the pleasure of the board on this?
make a motion to authorize the two step increases for Joe Brown and Jim Sabourin.
Okay, I will second that. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. In favor?
Aye.
Okay, myself in favor. It's a date today, the 5th.
Yes. 3/5/18. I only did that wrong in the first set of documents in January. I went the wrong way for that other one, I did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where was I? The appointment of Danielle McKinstry to the Youth Commission.
Do we have paper on that, or is it, am I looking for
Yeah,
nothing? Oh, there it is, okay.
It's up near the
All
front.
right, I missed it, I went right by it.
Danielle has applied to the Youth Commission. Works at Ruggles Lane School. She's a mother of 4. And occasionally substitute teaches, lunch monitor.
Nice.
And she's volunteered with the food bank.
A glutton for punishment, we call that, right?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of someone that's lunch monitor. That could be, maybe not so bad in the elementary school.
Well, if you have kids in there too, it's a chance to spend a couple hours in the day around your own kids, if you really want to, you know. But,
Brave soul.
all right. Well, I make a motion that we accept the appointment of Danielle McKinstry for the, what are we calling this, the Youth Commission?
Okay, I will second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote in favor.
All right?
Okay, we have a request from the farmer's market.
Yeah, so this is, for their annual request to use, to use the town common for, the farmer's market. It runs from May 5th to October 27th, and I believe it's, Sundays, Saturdays?
I
Saturday.
think it's Saturdays, yeah.
Yeah.
Saturdays in the common. I make a motion, we approve the use of town property for the farmer's market from May 12th through October 27th on Saturdays.
I think we may have to wait for Matt, because my family over the years, some years is a member of this group,
Sure, that's fine.
so we may have to wait.
Okay. Fair enough. There's time in that, so. That's May 12th, so,
Yeah.
yeah, we're all right.
Hard to believe we already talked about that.
And a nor'easter coming Wednesday.
We have a letter that was requested to be read by the Christmas committee. And I will read it. It's dated February 21st, 2018. It's addressed to Andrew, and it says, to the town administrator, in light of comments made at the January 16th Selectmen's meeting, the current Christmas in Barre committee has decided not to decorate or provide our traditional Christmas day of events. For the past 12 years, our committee has worked year-round along with family members, town residents, and other volunteers, planning the events, putting up and taking down all the decorations on Barre Common. Many organizations located around the Common, Barre Common, participated in the events as well. We are proud to have provided the town of Barre with a full day of events for families to enjoy at no cost. Respectfully submitted, Christmas in Barre committee members: Sharon Proctor, Chair; Sandy Hood, Terry Mars, Corice Boyer, Judy Ruskowski, Sonia Blaney, and Margot Petricone.
Any idea what comment she's referring to from January 16th?
Well, in talking with Sharon, we had the discussion about, I did talk with Sharon and Sandy, about the letter. But they were concerned about the discussion that we had regarding the budget, and possible future of creating a holiday committee. And some of the comments during that were basically that, they didn't want the committee to be part of that. The Christmas and Barre committee to be part of that holiday committee. And I know that they were saying that before they were kind of struggling to move this forward, and they felt that that was kind of like the town not supporting them in their efforts. I told them that we would help them any way that we could. We talked about the budget. They just described to me, and they showed me on paper, that the money that we do appropriate for the Christmas in Barre goes to about 75% of the cost to just do the lighting on the band, or the bandstand, and that's all that money goes toward. But everything else is basically privately funded. It's about, they have a decent sized budget, but they expend out the total amount every single year, and that's pretty much the town's only contribution. They were kind of, they didn't want to see it go, but I think they felt that they were at the point where they're just taxed enough, they didn't feel the support, and didn't want to continue.
Well, I'd love to address that if I could for a minute.
Sure, go
Um,
ahead.
Very disappointed to see this come in a letter and no one's joined us at the meeting to discuss this. That was a lengthy conversation that day, and we covered a lot of topics. The topics that may have offended agreed to limiting how many people from the Christmas and Common would be on that committee was one of the discussions. Ultimately decided why. If they're the ones that want to do it and have the zeal for it, let them be on the committee. But it was discussed because they didn't want other people to be hesitant to join the committee that might be formed if this other committee's been there and been in power, and there was concern over if there would be a power struggle for it. But I think at the end of the discussion, we basically decided that, you know, if they step forward and other people don't, why shouldn't they be the committee that comes forward? And we discussed how to come up with funding, and there would have to be a town account for the funding for an official committee. There was discussion on the funds that they do receive and how much they receive in donations. And someone had asked us in the crowd, well, where does their money go? And we said, well, we have no idea. It's got nothing to do with us. Because as an independent committee, they don't have to go through the town and account for their monies. So a lot of these conversations could be taken out of context as us being mistrustworthy of them or something, but couldn't be further from the truth. The concern is if we form a nice committee with the town and put it under a charter, under a charge, then we have to account for all those funds. And that's a process we said we maybe wouldn't do with Christmas, that we leave that committee alone anyways because of what they do separately. So very disappointed to see they think they don't have support from us. I think nothing could be further from the truth. It's certainly not about taking things away from them. And I thought really we wound up in the discussion that we were deciding to leave them with their own Christmas alone because of how they do it and how their funding comes in. And we didn't want to try to process their donations through the town. But there was discussion if we did form a committee for other events, for I'm hoping something in the spring for Halloween and other events that we do that we'd have a committee for. And that I thought we left the decision, we'd probably keep that separate from the Christmas. Disappointed no one came in to talk to us in person. Hopefully they reconsider their letter. I think it'd be a shame to let that go. People
Yep.
certainly enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yep.
I've helped several times come put lights up for them with the fire trucks. So let's hope that they reconsider this and they hear what I'm telling them now and maybe come in and discuss it if they'd like to.
Yep.
But nothing in this board said that I don't think should have been taken as offensive. That's why I was asking. That's the only event I can think of we talked about that committee, and it wasn't to attack or offend anybody. But we do discuss facts in public here because we don't have these conversations in private. So any concerns about anything, whether it's like when Hardwick just sat here and I had to bring up the money. We want you to pay something. Nobody wants to have that conversation, but you have to have it direct and frank. And we have to have a frank conversation about how we'd handle funds. I mean, if we do form a committee, which we don't have running, we have to establish all those things up front and clear. How the money's going to come in, who's going to control it, how it's going to be spent, who's going to authorize it, and everything has to be covered, so it had to all be discussed. No intention to take anything away from this committee and what they do. They've done a fantastic job. People love it. People come out in droves for it, and I sincerely hope that they reconsider and continue
Would
to
we
do
like
it.
to have them in to ask them to?
I wouldn't tell them to please come in if they want to. I love it. But I'm not
Okay.
going to say come and see the board or anything like that. But anytime, walk into a meeting. This is an old business. You can bring it up at any meeting for a public comment.
Sure.
And I'm fine with that.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you.
You got a question? You got a question, Sean?
Yep, Sam.
By the way, how much does this committee think that they would like to receive from the town to show that their efforts are respected?
I don't think that's the point.
I don't think that's the issue with them.
They receive the lion's share of their money from private donations, and they put in a lot of time and a lot of effort on their own for volunteers, and no one gets paid. I think they were feeling that we were slighting them by considering putting another committee in, but that's not the intent.
So it's not funds, it's not funded?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't,
Is that,
no.
they don't think that the town gives them enough homage, is that the good word?
Not even that. Well, we were talking about making a committee to do events in the common, doing a common committee, to do things like Halloween, which would make it better organized and better funded. And we got into the discussion about Christmas, how do we handle it? Because this committee does their own thing. And it's not done by us, but it's done. And the funding is done privately.
It's done very well.
Exactly. And I thought that's how we left it. We'd kind of want to leave that separate from this. And then there was discussion about how many members from that committee do we let join our committee if we form it? I mean, do we let that committee just run the new common committee? And the concern there is not that there's anything they do wrong, but the idea of making a committee for the common is to get more input from more citizenry that don't get involved and try to get more people involved. So the concern was if we brought that whole committee on board, other people may feel intimidated and feel like their voice won't count and not want to get involved. So we'd probably open up, if we make that committee, Christmas committee can stay with Christmas, that's fine. And if we made a committee for other things in the common, we might open up to so many members of their Christmas committee initially, see what we have for participation from the public before we let them fill in more. If they even want to, they may have no interest in the other committee. But we had to speculate all these things publicly because you can't do it in private.
I think that people's level of interest has shown because at the last town meeting, we just about had a quorum, which is disappointing.
That or it's very encouraging because they trust what we're doing. You can laugh. It might be. I mean,
Might be. I had never thought of it that way.
It could simply be that the
That,
things they know
that's
we're
the
asking for,
eternal-
they've looked at it and they think
You
we're,
must
and
be
they
the-
like what we're doing, so they're gonna let us be and not go make an issue.
You must
So
be the eternal
why vote?
optimist, I guess.
I am.
You are.
I always hope to see a better point. That we had a lack of people coming because nobody was up in arms about anything. They're like, oh yeah, those sound reasonable, so why
Yeah.
go? And the same thing happens at elections, you know? Well, no big contest, why bother? We know so-and-so will win. Yeah. You need to get out, you need to participate.
Yes, you do.
And I don't, you know, special town meetings are difficult, they're an odd time of the year, they're whenever we throw it in. And it's usually about finances. And we weren't dealing with a great sum of money this time. It's not like we were after $1 million piece of apparatus or something, or you know, a bond purchase or something. You know, we were spending some of the stabilization money back from the old free cash to some of the things we intended to fund. And I think they were all very reasonable. And I really want to believe we just had lack of participation because nobody was concerned. But the turnout from Halloween and the turnout on Christmas shows that people are involved and they like to be involved. So I'm hoping that that's what would carry to a committee if we formed one.
Okay.
You can look at it from either side.
Do you have anything you wish to report to the?
No. I have no reports for right now.
Okay. The only thing I have is, at the last meeting, we had discussed about going to the legislative breakfast up in Gardner on the
Right.
16th, which is, I guess I looked it up, is 8 o'clock in the morning at the Gardner Library. And I wasn't sure then if I could go, but I can go. So maybe if you could confirm that we'll be there. Well, I guess we'd have to post that, wouldn't we?
I wasn't gonna go, it was just gonna be you, I think.
Or you just think,
Well, I think we were gonna, it's Friday, isn't it?
It's a Friday.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a Friday morning.
Some of us will be working. Ugh,
Yeah,
a foul word, but
okay.
my work won't pay me to go to it.
Okay,
so.
well, anyway, if you could just confirm with them that I would be attending that.
Sure.
Thank you.
What was the date of that? March
The
13th?
16th,
16th, sorry.
at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
I guess you went to one here last week.
Yeah, I went to the one in Palmer. It was very good. I think weather kind of drove some people away, but kind of talked about some of the things that they're, that the MMA is supporting and some of the things that they have put in some opposition against in the governor's budget. Kind of talking about housing. I know that's been a big push of the governor's to try to get new housing, but also addressing the school funding issues as well.
Yep.
Those are the two big hot button topics.
Okay, and we have Andrew's report here. Did you want to go over that with us, or did you have,
The only
I
thing,
saw it online and I,
yeah, the other thing that wasn't included, the public safety building, they are up and running. There's only two things that we're still trying to kind of really work out, and that's little issues that we're having with the fax system. We're supposed to have an e-fax system, which hasn't worked out quite as I had hoped. So I have I have Verizon running 2 dedicated phone lines in there. Within the next week, I have that order in, and they're supposed to confirm a date for me today, but they didn't get back to me. But the other one was the cable. They're supposed to, the day that they were moving in, they were supposed to run the coax in. The tech showed up, looked around, and walked out of the building. Didn't realize that the building had already been had a conduit run to it. So he thought that we were going to have to trench all the way to the building. He basically left, came back to us a few days, said, "Oh, we have to wait till March or wait till May till we can run the trench." And we said, "What trench?" So
After they hear pipes for over there. Yeah.
So we're looking to reschedule him to come back out to get that work done.
Okay.
On the 9th, that's next Thursday, we'll be meeting with Barre Falls Dam to talk about that patrol agreement that the chief had brought up. I didn't know if any member of the board wanted to sit in on the discussion or represent the board in it. Otherwise, it'd just be the chief and I.
that'd be fine with me.
That's fine, because it was his concerns, rightfully so, for the, the expense for the cruiser and what our real expense is for it. So that was just what we talked about. It's not about what they do or where they go. That they can work on what they want to be done, but the estimate on the hourly cost and the vehicle cost, hours in the life of the vehicle and so on, is a way to set a proper number.
Okay.
I would think when you lay it out like that, they should be acceptable to a substantial increase.
All right.
But I do want to, before you're done, I want to go over this transfer station stuff, of course.
Go ahead.
All right, I see, as discussed, you did, as I did find out after the fact, you did hold a Board of Health meeting that I wasn't invited to. If you're gonna set a meeting, I need to get an email that says we have a meeting.
Are you signed up for the notifications about the, we talked about this before? You
I-
get the notification from my town government.
I don't know, I get like a warrant, when it comes up, the AP warrant can be signed, I get that.
That's not it. In the past, I
But-
asked you on my town government, which is where we legally
I-
have to post our meetings.
I've,
You can go in
okay.
and sign up, and it will automatically send you any notifications.
And as I
which
discussed,
includes-
Faye, last time this happened to the board, that I don't need to go on sites to look and see if I have a meeting set for me. As a selectman here, I expect to be notified if there's a meeting for me to be at.
I think it was
And-
discussed for a few meetings before this, though, with this date, and that's how we came to that
No.
scheduled date.
Nope, this is never discussed with
Charlie,
that date.
do you have any input on that?
It was discussed at the Board of Health meeting,
Right,
and
and then.
And if you agree to set a meeting at that, it's not very hard to send me an email to say you've set a meeting date and a time.
Okay.
And furthermore, being the only dissenting vote on this issue, very, very disheartening to see it go on. Now, as I understand, after the fact here, that was supposed to be a meeting to vote on extending the contract for 2 years, which we had tabled at our select meeting the night previous to that. So was that meeting posted to have a discussion about Chapter 30B going out for an RFQ? Was it posted for that so the public had the right to come for discussion input, or was it not properly posted? And if it wasn't, then I will take great exception to that, and we're probably gonna have to pull the RFQ and start again. As far as that goes, I mean, the RFP, pardon me,
Sorry, can you say that again? Your question?
more of a statement. I said, I assume, what I understand is the nature of that meeting was to vote on a possible extension of the transfer station contract for 2 years. That was tabled at our select meeting the night prior. So I didn't know if that meeting had been properly posted to discuss the RFP, so the public could have input on that before it was going out to bid. I don't think it was posted, which would be, certainly a breach of protocol for an open meeting laws.
And this was on the 28th? No, I'm sorry.
21st.
So we need to make sure that that was properly posted for that discussion before that went through and had a vote. And as far as it goes, I would have had some input for that. You know, I had suggested just before at our meeting that, you know, they already had an RFP drawn up when they did this before. It should be very easy to move forward with it. But I think it would be pretty important, especially since they only had the one company show any interest in it. I'd like to know why. I'd like to know how it's
On
written.
the last RFP,
I'd like to
there
know.
was two. Waste Management also submitted
Okay.
a request.
Well, they sat here before and told us they were the only one. That's what they told us.
They were the only ones that submitted a bid,
Okay.
yep, but there was interest.
And no, I wish I could remember who told me. Someone that had worked for Waste Management before said, yeah, they looked at the contract, and it was plain and simple ridiculous. And that's why they didn't want to bid on it. So it sounds like the way it went out to bid may have been unreasonable, and that it could be reworded that we may get more interest in it. I told Andrew a concern that was brought to me, which I'm not ready to air publicly because I don't have any further information on it. But, you know, I'm concerned about the contract itself and the intent of how it was written and why. And I'd just like to be able to look into it. So I really don't like that this went out to bid before I got to look at this. And I don't like that this was done without me being notified. And I'll certainly be very, very opposed to this if I find that it was done without being posted publicly in advance to discuss that.
It was legally posted on My Town Government.
Okay. I'll look up and see what it says and check that out. But I certainly wasn't notified. And there's certainly more discussion that it should have been made before that went out. I'm concerned about the fact that we only got one person to vote before means that there's probably something not right in the language there, and I think it warrants being examined. And in the meantime, as I said before, we should be moving steadily forward towards investigating what we need to take it over on our side. We can make phone calls. We don't have to be bid for the town to take our trash or recycling. We can make phone calls and get pricing from places to see where we might want to go with it. It's very easy to set up a contract with someone if we decide in a facility. Because no matter what we do, no matter what comes back with this, we may not have a viable agreement we can move into in the end of June. And if we don't, and we don't make any other preparations, we are going to look pretty foolish. We're once again sitting here banking 100% on this, which is ridiculous to do. The more I find out about this, as I said before, this isn't something that costs us nothing. We pay for all of our town trash. We pay for all the rubbish that DPW picks up in the woods and the items they bring. And we're paying them $96,000 to haul our sewer sludge, which we can do for half. That's
That's a
$48,000.
completely separate
Contract,
contract.
yeah, that's a completely separate contract.
We're paying them to do it. If we do this ourselves with the roll-off equipment for this, we can do that ourselves and cut that money out of it.
But I think
Right,
going
that's a
back,
completely separate contract, though.
sorry,
And it shouldn't have been. This has always been something that was handled by Waste Management in the past when they ran our transfer station. The company that ran the transfer station ran the sludge for us.
But
And why that was not part of this is ridiculous again.
that
So
was a
there is an
separate
expense
bid,
to it.
that was put out to bid separately.
It shouldn't have been. That's what I'm saying. It was always part of the obligations and duties of Waste
Okay,
Management when they
so
ran the
I'll-
transfer
So let
station.
me explain a little bit of that to you. So Waste Management had the landfill in town, okay?
I'm well aware.
They needed to get rid of their leachate. So the town of Barre took their leachate in return for the landfill taking the sludge. It was an agreement. When the landfill closed, they could not accept our sludge any longer. And at that time, when they closed, the transfer station was also due to close. So at that time, both the sludge removal and the transfer station went out to bid, separate bids. It just so happened that solid waste was awarded both bids. The bid documents are accessible for anybody to view if you'd like to view them.
I
But
absolutely have to
At the
do that,
time,
yes.
that's how this was bid out. This was not something that was just, Waste Management could take it anymore. They had the opportunity to bid on it.
What happens with
I don't
the,
recall how many bidders we had on the sludge. I honestly don't.
what happens with the leach water from,
You should
The
ask the
landfill.
sewer commission that. we don't oversee that, so I do not know.
Well, the
Are we
land, the
still taking
landfill's
it?
a private property from Waste Management, so I'm curious what happens with that.
I'm sorry, what is?
The landfill is owned by Waste Management.
Correct.
So the leach water over there is still theirs, not ours. I'm
Correct.
just curious what they do with it. Do we take that and get paid for that?
I
Do we know?
believe we take it, and I'm not sure if there's any charge at this time. Prior to them closing, there was, I think the town took without charging them, and I could be wrong, I think it was something 12,000 gallons a day. It was an allowable amount. You would have to ask the sewer commission that. But I don't recall specifically.
Well, I'll certainly like to read these bids, how they were done. So I would like them, are they on a PDF? Can they be emailed?
They're being emailed to any person who requests them. Now,
Consider them
coming-
requested.
Coming to a
Consider them requested.
Going to a procedural question, the select board they don't really approve an RFP before it goes out. You approve the results of the RFP. The chief procurement officer puts the RFP out, gets the bids back, and then presents it to the select board. My concern is that, now saying that since this went out because the select board didn't agree or didn't vote on it first, changes an entire procedure. That's setting a whole new precedent of how all RFPs are handled now.
Did they make a vote to go
No.
out to bid?
No,
The Board of Health did.
Board of Health did,
Correct.
but we did not.
Okay. And like I said, I don't know if it was posted for that or not. And if it was posted for that, then that's all well and good. Typically if there's an RFP, there'd be, some discussion somewhere of what's gonna be in it. And I think it's important, given the fact of the lack of participation we had last time, that obviously something in there is turning people away. We've already demonstrated that there is quite a bit of money in this. And the fact that people are turning away from it is strange. So I would think that there's something improperly written with the RFP that's causing that to happen. So I would like to read that. So please send me a copy. And as well for the previous one that went out for the sludge, I assume that's going back out?
I don't know.
Doesn't have to,
Going
that's,
to discuss with the sewer commission to ask how they want to proceed with that.
right. That is one of the things that is exempt from 30B. That doesn't have to necessarily have an RFP, and it doesn't have to go before a town vote. And along the same lines, unless I misunderstand how the 30B works, that should have been voted on by the town body once we'd accepted the bid from the Solid Waste Solutions.
Town meeting vote?
Isn't that the requirement for the 30B contract?
When it falls under 30.
Which we just determined it fell under 30B.
But the sewer.
The three
is exempt,
things the
correct?
state said clearly
So
do not
did
fall
you-
under the
right.
exemption. One of those three things that is not exempt from 30B is the operation of a transfer station.
Correct.
So that contract
Mhm.
should have gone
Should
to the
have.
town body. So that contract, in effect, is in violation of state
Once
law
it-
30B.
When it goes past 3 years.
It only has to go for the body for the
It went out
beyond
as,
3
it
years.
went out as a competitive bid.
That's what I'm trying to
3 years-
clarify.
3 years ago. So it hasn't, it hasn't gone past the threshold of 3, it hasn't gone past the threshold of a 3-year contract. All it does now is, you cannot exercise that option because the 2 option years are, now that it falls under 30B, you can't
So as long as that
exercise
contract is less than 3 years, the town doesn't have to vote on it.
Correct,
It's only the extension that would have required the vote.
correct, and that would have had to be before the execution of the contract.
Well, clearly, yes, it had to be done, and it would have had different language possibly than it did. Okay, well, that's good. At least that's one concern I have.
We haven't gone 3 years under an unvalid contract. We're at the 3 years of a valid contract. What, if it went beyond this, it would have been, challengeable.
Only the extension was invalid.
Correct.
Okay. Operation of a transfer station fall under the 30B as long as it went out for the bid, the RFP.
Yep.
That covers 30B. It only needed the town vote to extend.
Mhm.
Good. That's something positive in this. I'm still not comfortable with how it's written, because I can't understand why other companies wouldn't get involved in it, unless there's something in the write-up that makes it sour to them, which isn't what we want. We want it to be inviting to get competitive prices from people. Maybe somebody would actually, do this for a low, and I think, once again, the sticker fees in it, I think are ridiculous. I think the participation in the landfill has gone down to about 50% of what it used to be, if you go back 6 years ago, 5 years ago. If you double participation and cut the stickers in half, it would bring in the same money. However, you'd bring in double the bag sales, which means there would be much more revenue on the trash side than throwing bags away. If the stickers are reasonable, we'd bring people back in. Slating this, the way the contract was written, going up to $100 a sticker is gonna hurt us, not help us. It's gonna have less participation, it's gonna have less bags, and it's gonna have less total revenue coming in. And I really don't think it's a wise way to go, and, there's a chance this goes back before, well, I guess it wouldn't have to go before the town body for the vote, but if it did, they'd probably say no. People don't want to pay $100 a sticker.
Well, I would have to say I kind of disagree with you, because people have the option right now to hire a private hauler. If they disagreed with the sticker price and the trash bag price and what you're speaking
Well,
of.
Faye, that's ridiculous. To say you're gonna hire a private hauler and spend $500 or $600 a year, obviously the $100 sticker is a little less than that,
I
but,
think there's 300 residents that use that option of having a private hauler.
Mhm. And some people choose to do it anyways. Some people are just gonna do that. Some people choose to eat out every night rather than cook at home because they don't care about the expense. Some people do, and they cook at home every night. And some people have pasta and chicken instead of roast beef because it's more affordable. And we're talking about a sticker being $100 instead of $50. That's a punch in the pocket to people. And I think I've been very straightforward about this the whole time, that bringing that sticker price down is going to increase participation. And it may not even increase to the point to break even to the higher sticker price. But when you look at the decreased stickers and the increased participation, the extra revenue from the bags should more than offset the lower sticker price. And I think the contract, however it's written when someone comes in, should be considered at that the sticker should come in lower to increase our participation. So yes, it's a lower net sticker yield for anyone that runs it, but it's gonna drive up participation, which is gonna drive up revenues in the
But
bag,
if we're
which is
putting-
100% revenue in a bag, so 50%.
But if we're putting it out to bid, that would be the bidder's opportunity to try to gain as many customers as they can.
Absolutely. And
So
if-
putting that in a bid is kind of setting it up.
If it doesn't go, well, the idea
Kind of
of
specific.
going out with an RFP is to have it done how we want it. We want the bids to come in the manner that we want them to come
But I
in.
don't think we can tell them their prices. I don't think that's why they bid. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting question.
Interesting whether we can or we can't. It's part of the contract, so it's certainly an agreed upon number in the first place.
If it's under 30B, you can't really negotiate, you can't negotiate that.
Right, you can't set prices when you're putting it out to bid under 30B.
Well, now we're gonna split hairs. So they said they'll run the landfill for nothing, then why do we pay stickers or bags? They're running the transfer station probably for nothing. If they're allowed to charge
That's the value of the
fees,
contract.
Who's saying they're putting it out for nothing? I don't understand.
you've all told me
that
100 times, it doesn't cost us
It
anything to
cost-
have them. that-
It costs the
It's-
town,
It's the
Right.
value of the contract that falls
Correct.
under the 30B.
right,
It doesn't consider the amount that goes out, that they pay, it's the amount that they take in. Or not, sorry, that might be the other way around.
The
Sorry.
point is here,
Either way, it's the contract value.
when it goes out to bid, they're throwing a number at us. We will do it for, if you pay us 10,000, or we will give you 10,000 if we're allowed to run it. That's the bid number. The prices charged to the public are outlined in the contract, and they have to be known up front. You can't give them an open book to say, charge everyone $1,000 a sticker if you want. We need the transfer station to operate, and it needs to stay within certain parameters. So the number they're giving us up front is what they will charge or pay to operate the transfer station. That's what that contract is about.
right, so the car.
And they like to yield what they can of money out of it, but we also have to put some restrictions, control on that. That's why the previous contract has language that controls the sticker costs, the recycling costs, The permissible charges for all these things are spelled out in advance. All these things need to be agreed upon before in the contract. So if we don't like it, we can say we don't like it, and we can counter. There's no reason we can't. Can we on the 30B?
I don't
Well,
necessarily.
then it's, if it's, now you're gonna lower the, lower price
You have to
potentially.
offer it to everybody that bid then, wouldn't you?
I have to look, I'll have to look into that just.
Well,
It might- It might change under the RFQ process versus the RFP.
Unless those numbers for the recycling, trash bags, and stickers are defined in the RFP, then we can certainly negotiate those all we want. All we care about is the bottom line. Someone says, we'll run it for you, pay us 10 grand and we'll run it. Then we work out the numbers on the for the stickers and all that after the fact. If those things are part of the RFP, then we have absolutely right to set what those numbers are up front. And if we don't have the right to establish those numbers in the beginning, then, it doesn't matter what they come in with for a price. If they're not established ahead of time, then we absolutely get to negotiate those. No one's gonna come in here and just do whatever they want down there. There's requirements for what they can take and restrictions on what they can charge. And the pay-as-you-throw items, they're fine where they are. But if we make sure that sticker fee stays down at $50, we will get increased participation, and they will have more bag revenues, which will bring their money on that side. And I would dare say, if you bring it down to $50, they may actually make money on it. My plan was, if we did it, you go $50 a sticker and $10 for a second sticker in the same household. You place them on the vehicles, you don't send them out in the mail. You place them on the vehicles so you know they've gone to the registered vehicles of that address. But you'll sell a lot of second stickers, and you'll bring in very close to the same revenues as the $100 sticker would have at only $1,200 participation. But the more important side of that is every time someone throws a trash bag away, there's $1 that goes into the coffers for, right now, solid waste solutions. So if you increase participation from $1,200 to $1,800, you're gonna go from $68,000 in revenues to $100,000 in revenues.
So,
It's,
right now, just to throw this out there, we have 2,391 single family, or just residences in town. You have 1,300 people that get stickers at the transfer station. We have 400 people that have, about 400 people that have curbside collection. We have 691 people, or 691 possible people out there that are unaccounted for.
and most likely they're either in a shared collection service with somebody, or they're sharing someone's sticker. Hey, I'll pay half your sticker and you drive the trash.
So.
Which we
need
could
to
sell
know-
a second sticker.
But we need to know where we're going to increase that 1,300 then.
I think you're gonna find that a lot of the people that are doing the separate pickup, paying for curbside, will cut the expenses, and it's only a $50 sticker, and some of them, not all of them,
But that
some of
kind
them
of goes
certainly
back
will.
to the whole, well, you have it available for 100, but you pay 500. So you're gonna dump the 500 because sticker prices went down $25?
Well, I know specifically 3 people that share a dumpster,
Are
because,
those 3 people now going to use
because-
the transfer station?
probably. They have before and they would again. Nobody likes to have a dumpster laying around their property anywhere. Nobody does. But I really think, why did we have a higher participation years before this? Why, when we were at $25 and
They weren't that
$50 a
much
sticker?
higher.
Okay, Sam?
I would be surprised if
I
they
think
weren't
we had-
significantly higher.
When there was a big change in this transfer station from Waste Management ran a pretty tight ship, a pretty nice ship,
Very clean.
very clean. They used to take batteries, whatever they did with them, I don't know, but I'm sure they made money on them, because if I take a battery, I bring it to a company and they give me $5, or whatever they give me for the lead. They used to take tires. I remember Tony Kukas was there, and we used to get tires there. The swap shed looked like somebody really, cared. I was in there the other day just looking because I was amazed. It was a junk shop. They used to take paint, and they used to do something with paint. I heard stories when this new company took over, and they started charging for fluorescent bulbs, because I remember going to Joe Bassett's house and taking all of his fluorescent bulbs, because I'm one of those mercury concerned fanatics, and I brought it down there. Now people have to pay for it. And I heard stories from people you and I all know who said, well, we'll just take the fluorescent bulbs and we'll break them, we'll leave them, put them in the box, in the bag, and who cares? There's been a whole different mindset with this organization. Now, I don't know how much they make, I don't know how much the town makes, I don't know anything about that. But the whole concept, if you when you drove up to Waste Management, there was a sign, there was instructions, it was neat. You wake up, you drive here, and you're almost embarrassed to say that that's our dump, because I remember what it used to be. And I don't know what the arrangement was for Waste Management, but they did a good job. And so, that's my impression. And I have a question, if I may ask. Does the Board of Health need to get a blessing from the Selectmen in order for them to come up with their own request for proposal for anything they do?
Well, the Board of Selectmen acts as the final signatory.
Even for just a request for proposal?
Right.
So
Because
everything
the-
has to be run by the Selectmen for them to determine whether it's a
They hold-
feasible request for proposal?
They hold the site assignment, so ultimately they do have at least a 50% say in what happens. But the select board is the signatory board when it comes to the contract.
Oh, yeah, we know that, but
Right,
just,
right, right.
I'm talking about just the request for proposal, for instance, going out, for instance, the Board of Health would say, well, we would like to bring some people in here to serve pizzas on Friday afternoon, for instance. Do they have the right to send that request for proposal out? And then, when they get proposals back in, then they go before the select board, and they say, this is what we did, and what do you think? So that's my question. Do they have the right to go on their own just to receive a proposal? Not to make the deal, just to receive a proposal?
I think
Am
they
I-
would, right? I
Am I
mean,
clear?
other departments do RFPs, RFQs without having to come before this board. I think this, because they're the signatory, because it's town property, correct?
Right.
Right, but it's your decision to accept it or not, but these individual boards can go on their own. The assessors department could say, well, we'd like to do something for the assessors
It
department.
needs to be done under the authority of the chief procurement officer.
Oh, it has to be, okay, that's all I wanted to
So
understand.
we granted the authority to do it, but
So-
ultimately, you know,
So-
the chief procurement officer, in the eyes of the state, holds the authority to grant that. I can say, no, that's not a valid RFP, and it's not being brought forward.
Oh, okay. That's all I wanted to know. I wanted to understand whether they can just go on willy-nilly and say, we're gonna do a proposal, and then when we get 10 proposals in, then we bring all the 10 proposals to the selectmen and say, selectmen, what do you think about these? And the selectmen could say, well, that's a good idea.
Currently, they are the permit holder of that facility, so it's licensed to them, and they are the oversight for that facility. It's fallen under the Board of Health, so it's up to them to make sure things that are done down there are done appropriately according to the requirements of the DEP. So, pretty much how everything is done down there is under their authority. But, when and if a contract is formed and signed, it's gonna be signed by the select board.
Yeah,
So it's wise to work with the select board when you want to put the bid out.
well, it's not a bid out, it's a request.
It's a request for bids.
Request for a bid.
When you're putting the request out, it's wise to work with the selectmen to make sure that you have it out in a way that they're amicable to, because you want them to approve it when it comes back. Clearly, I'm not pleased to have been left out of the loop on this.
Well, my question was, is could, my next thought would be, is could this organization that we lease to, or we give an opportunity to, could they accept this for 2 years or whatever the time period is, and then go out and sublease it to someone else?
No.
I guess that's
No.
what my question.
There's a clause in any contract that the town puts out that there's that they cannot subcontract without the approval of the town.
Okay.
And of course, my logic concern is I'm always very suspicious, and I think there's the potential for the town to increase its revenues overall by operating the transfer station. And I think it's a substantial increase in excess of $100,000 a year. So I'm very concerned as to why we're so willing to sign off a contract and let someone else make $100,000 off the population rather than the town keeping that money, because goodness knows we could use it for all the budgetary items we have. You know, people can argue all they want. They don't make any money. Well, no business in the world is coming down there to operate that facility unless they're making some substantial money. And if they want to tell you there's no money in it, they're not being truthful with you. No one's running a business. You know, even our nonprofits, they make money. You know, they're called not-for-profit because of the type of business they do, but they make money. If we think the new medical marijuana facility is not going to make money, then we're very naive. But they're not-for-profit because it's a medical facility. This place is certainly, they're not even a not-for-profit. They're a profit company, and they're in it to make money. And I will assure you they make money. And if it's valuable enough in the interest of this company to go after it to make their income and revenue from it, then it should be in our interest and it should be in our sights to run this facility and make the money for the town. And the longer we sit back and resist even looking into taking it over, it dumbfounds me as to why we're so resistive to look into an avenue. We've talked about increasing revenues for the town without increasing taxes. Well, here's one way to do it. And why we don't get into that and look into it very wholeheartedly, it is beyond me. We're going to sit here and let this RFP go out and hope it comes back agreeable and hope we can sign a contract, because come June 30th, we may not have one. And then come June 30th, we're going to have to figure out how to run it, because we could quite potentially have no one. And we are foolish not to move forward, you know, with taking the steps to fully understand exactly what we want to do to take it over and be prepared to do that.
Has the DPW voted on this?
The
Or have they discussed it?
The DPW likes the idea, but we've done nothing to look into it as a commission. We've started by having, you know, agreeing that Jason could go out there and talk with Groton and see what their facility is and get some information and pick their brain, which when Jason went out, also Joe Grigowski went out and I went out, so we had two people from the commission and the DPW superintendent. We all gave our time to go do it and got a lot of good information. And we brought those numbers back. None of them made them into Andrew's estimates. He used different numbers that he found from Hardwick and other places.
Have we received
I didn't
numbers?
receive one number in writing.
Yeah, I
from
didn't think
anyone.
we'd received any numbers yet.
They never. Okay.
They gave me some overall
They were supposed to
cost.
give me the.
Cost. They sent me what they took in for total revenues.
This is the town of Groton sent
Right.
this to you.
I wish I'd known you didn't get all the numbers you should have. They had a breakdown of, you know, by the ton and things like that, you know, that would give you the different numbers for what they get per ton on the trash and the plastics and the metals and other things like that. So that would have helped to make that more clear. But the commission was overwhelmingly supportive of the idea. They liked the idea of us running our own transfer station and people not paying $100 of stickers. And you both, or I don't know if you had that last meeting or not, but Charlie was certainly there, Matt was there. The board was very welcome, the whole commission was very welcoming of the idea. But we need to look into it and, you know, and dragging our feet in stone. The
Right,
commission,
that's what I'm
the commission
asking.
hasn't met again yet. We missed the last meeting. Jason couldn't make the last meeting. He had a class, a certification course he had, which conflicted with our meeting night, and he couldn't make it. I was hoping they'd reschedule it. Don't know why it didn't work out, they didn't reschedule it, but they skipped the meeting last month because of that, so. We haven't had the opportunity to meet and discuss it further down there. And once again, that commission will only discuss it so far. If this board's not gonna make a commitment to investigate this further and find out really what the viability is and what the money is in this, and what, I mean, we know the money's there. We know the company wants to run it. There's no doubt there's money in this. Absolutely none. The question is, instead of fighting it and saying, oh, we don't know what we have to do, well, let's discover exactly what we have to do. Let's line them up and say, here's our 10 steps to taking it over. And if we have to, come June 30th, we can file through those 10 steps. And it would be before June 30th. I mean, we'll know if we're gonna have a contract or not before then. But we don't wanna wait till mid-June to say, okay, let's figure out what we're gonna do. We need to figure out how to run it ahead of time.
Right, but has anybody, I mean, Andrew and I have discussed this we've been talking about this for 3 months now. The startup costs and the time needed.
Okay. We had this discussion at the
Can I
last board
finish?
meeting when you weren't here.
Can I finish? Yeah, and I watched the board meeting. But the startup costs and the time that
Which
it
are
would
what?
take for Andrew to get all of the RFQs out for every item that transfer station is going to take, where's the funding gonna come to purchase the equipment that we're going to need?
Okay.
Where does that come from?
Specifically, as I asked Charlie at the last meeting, what equipment is it we need to purchase, you're saying?
Well, I know if I recall the conversations, I don't know exactly, Solid Waste Solutions does own equipment down there, correct? Compactors,
That's their choice to put one in. We don't have to have them, but that's 15,000 if we want one. Like, for example, Groton used a live bottom truck. What we used to haul from there is just open
I mean,
containers.
we would have to buy a truck.
The roll-off truck, as I understand, is coming under the DPW to haul their own sludge, so they can get out of paying to haul the sludge. So that's,
Yeah.
the truck is coming, so
I mean.
we don't need to buy a special
I
truck for
hate to
it.
be like, the cloud that rains on the parade, but honestly, we've talked about this for 3 months.
Yeah, but
and
so
I
far,
can't
there's
tell
no
you-
capital yet. I'm asking you for the capital. There's none yet. The
Capital,
capital investments, you're saying, there's none yet. There's none we need to do. What is it? You say we have to put these expenses out. Tell me what they are. If you spend 3 months discussing it, I'm sure you have a list of capitals.
no, I'm saying
If
we
you're gonna
have
sit here
all
and-
discussed this for 3 months, and I
Right.
don't feel like we've gotten any
And if you're
further.
gonna tell me there's capital expenses to be made, what are they? What's your list? I'm sure you're keeping track someplace.
$125,000 for a truck.
Okay, we don't
It's
need
going
it.
to bring sludge every
We
day.
do need it, because Greg, we can't just assume that the sewer commission is gonna allow the town of Barre to utilize that truck. The sewer commission is an enterprise fund. If the enterprise fund purchases that truck, that's not free for the town to utilize.
If it's the enterprise fund under the sewer that purchase it, it would be sewer, correct?
Yeah,
But,
so we would have to pay the sewer commission to use their truck if we don't have to buy our own.
and I am sure, being all one municipality in town, we could work out how we will make use of the equipment down there without having to buy that truck up front. It's an expense we don't have to incur up front. And there is actually a roll-off truck down there that the town owns. It was left by Waste Management. Not a very good condition one, admittedly. That's why we're not counting on it as a first-line truck. But we do own a roll-off truck. We own all the roll-off containers. We own all the recycled containers, and we own trash containers. We own everything we need to run it. It would be nice to get a packer. It would be nice to be able to bundle the paper, bundle the plastic, and that would be probably about a $40,000 expense.
Where's that money gonna come from?
That would be a nice thing to have.
Right, but where's the money come from?
Well, we can demonstrate-
As much as we want to discuss this,
Yeah.
Right.
we are not the permit holder.
Right,
We're missing 3 people here who have to make that decision.
Right, and the permit holder can change too. We don't, we can stay there for now, and it doesn't have to stay there.
That
That,
permit holder has to give up that right. So that needs to be a discussion that has with them, that they are on board with this.
it's
But right
not,
now
it's
with
not
the
about
board-
giving up any right, because if they want to hire someone, that has to come through the board.
Right. You guys are at a stalemate.
right.
You need to come to some
No,
sort of
it's
agreement.
not a stalemate, because, the permit can be moved someplace else, and that starts with his board and goes in front of a town meeting. We can move the permit, that's not a big deal.
Move what permit?
Well, anyway.
Move what permit?
Though,
I'm
right,
sorry.
right now,
Yep.
we have the Board of Health as the permit holder down there.
Mhm.
The Board of Health is established, by, I want to say, it's either state or federal, but by the DEP, they're set up to be the overseer. They are the governing body of any trash facility like that, be it the landfill, transfer station. The Board of Health is the overseer. They establish the rules, the guidelines, and how the place needs to stay in compliance. They establish and they oversee that. They happen to be, right now, the way Barry's running it. In other words, they've actually signed to be the one holding the permit. They don't have to be. We could have someone else take over the permit. But what I've said before at the last meeting is, if we wanted to take it over, or if we had to take it over, and that's what I'm saying, we should prepare and continue to prepare to. If it should come down to June and we have to take this over, it's too late to start scrambling. We need to get ahead of it and make some simple plans. Odds are we're going to get someone to come in and run it for the year. Odds are we'll have a year to do this. If we don't, we are silly not to be prepared. It's that simple. And in that event, the permit holder already exists. They're already licensed, they're already regulated, they already have the forms and the applications, and everything's done. All the I's are dots, all the T's are crossed, it's already our facility. There isn't a lot of paper process to do that. To move it under control somewhere else later, that's a process. And we could do that in the next fiscal year or something. But if we had to take it over, the equipment exists, the facility exists, the permit exists, and all of it belongs to the town of Barre right now. Now, where would money come from a packer? Get $70,000 in revenues in trash bags and $100,000 sticker sale. There's $170,000. We have a $65,000 expense for an employee, and about, what do we say for operating expenses? $30,000 down there for the year or something. I mean, it's in there in the first year. For between the stickers and the trash bags, there's money in there to make that purchase in the first year. That's without relying on the recycling, relying on the other things we get from it. But that packer makes the recycling even more valuable. Plastics that are worth something you can sell. Plastics that have no value now, you can bundle them and set them off to a nice area on the side, 600-pound blocks or 800-pound blocks until they have a value in another year, and then sell them all at once when the value comes back. That doesn't have to go out in one big bulk as a useless value like it does now. The glass gets pulled out because the glass is valueless. Doesn't mean we have to pay $35 a ton to get rid of it or $70 a ton, but we're certainly not going to get paid for the glass. But when you put it into a co-mingle, it takes the value away from the aluminum and the tin and the valuable plastic in that container. So separating those and bundling them makes sense. It will pay itself back. And bundling the paper, why do you want to haul a container full of paper when you can pack it and haul 10 or 20 times the paper in one trip?
So I guess at this point in time, we've talked about these numbers 100 times. I guess at this point in time, the RFQ is going out, and let's just be hopeful that we get some competitive bids.
Oh my gosh, that's the most irresponsible thing we can say at this meeting. Let's just cross our fingers and hope this works.
No,
And this is exactly.
I said be hopeful that we get competitive bids.
I know. And in the meantime, instead of hoping that things work out, it's our responsibility to this town, Charlie, to make sure that we have a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we have contingency plans, we have emergency, we have MEMA, we have FEMA, we have all sorts of plans for disasters, for hurricanes.
Right,
I
but
mean,
so-
all sorts of things this town pre-plans for. But we can't plan for running our transfer station in the event that we don't get a contract?
But I think I already asked you, what has the DPW done? You're banking on the DPW to run this. So what has the DPW done to do this, to get ready?
We will discuss it at the next meeting and see what they've done
Great.
for information.
Hopefully then there's a plan, right? We can't make that plan for them.
Look at, I ran trash for 6 years. And believe me, this is not rocket science, and this is not a difficult thing to do. For anyone that's ever run their own business and gone into business on their own, there's not a lot of moving parts here. It's not that complicated. Yes, we need to make some phone calls. We need to know we're taking the recycling first. We need to know we're taking the rubbish and the things to bury. But we also, because the exclusion of 30B for trash, if at any point we find out it's more beneficial financially for the town to take the trash somewhere else, we're allowed to make that switch. So we're not restricted by anything in where we take this trash. We can do what's in the best interest of the town. Generally, you want to find some place, get a contract, because the longer the contract, the more beneficial the number, because they are safer with time, and so are we. And you can sign up to 20-year contract for these things if you want to. But we
get it.
also don't have to stay if there's a financially better thing for the town.
So
But-
at the
but
next DPW meeting, there's gonna be numbers, figures, what the town cost is, and what the plan is going to be.
Andrew's done all those costs. He's done the employee costs. He's done the operating costs.
but you
So
just-
we know what it
I
would
hate to
cost
banter
to
back
run
and
it.
forth with you, but I do believe you just told Andrew that his numbers were way off. And that,
His numbers on
and that
recycling were-
Groton had better numbers, but we've never seen the Groton numbers.
His numbers on recycling were half. He was giving half on paper,
Right, but.
nothing on
But right, this
plastic.
is the thing, you tasked Andrew to do
That,
this.
that's not what we're talking about. To take it over and run it, what does the DPW have to do? They have to put an employee down there, and we have to know we're taking the products.
Well, the
That's what-
DPW would have to run it,
That's what we have to do.
right, so.
Well, no,
But you
we've
tasked-
also had the discussion, the Board of Health wants to run it and be in control.
Mm-hmm.
We'd use a DPW employee for it, because we'd have someone that's, under DPW for direction, for licensing and everything else, but it would still be under direction and control of the Board of Health. So we can say the DPW is gonna run it, sort of, we can use a worker we attach to DPW, but it's gotta be under the control
Right,
of the Board of Health. That cannot change right now. That cannot change this year. If we wanted to in the future, you could, but for now, you can't. They've got the permits, they've got everything established. But to take it over and run it, there's not a lot of steps to get ready.
Okay.
To say we want to put an employee down there, we can hire an employee, that's very easy. To say we're gonna take our trash to this incinerator, that incinerator, or take it to a landfill someplace, we can make that decision. We can go forward with a place, see who will accept it, and sign a
we
contract.
probably have to procure all of those items though, correct?
No,
No?
trash is exempt from 30B.
I
Okay.
have no doubt if we were put in a situation where we had to run that, we could run it.
Mhm.
But that's not where we're at right now.
Right, but what I'm saying,
Right now,
If
that's
we
how
are-
the Board of Health wants to run it.
if we are
That's
putting,
how we're moving forward.
if we are put in that position, we're gonna be put in that position in June.
I also can't guarantee that we're gonna make, not that we're gonna make, that we'd even break even. I can't guarantee that. I can guarantee you that we could run it. I can't guarantee that we'd break even. I put that.
We
I put
can't
that
guarantee
whole-
anything
I put
breaks
that
even.
whole thing together to show you that this could be done.
Mhm.
I, doesn't guarantee that we could even run it at zero cost.
Nope,
And that's not even what we're discussing. Or that shouldn't even be what we're discussing. We know we can run that thing.
And there is no guarantee we could run the cost, but if you think this company's in there doing it for a loss, then.
And they probably
then-
are because of the amount of, because this isn't their only iron in the
Facility.
fire.
Mhm.
They're a large scale company. If they can do it better than what we can, so be it. They can run it at a lower cost. We don't get any competitive bids. You decide that, you know what, this isn't how we want to proceed anymore, then fine. We'll do all of our legwork. It's there. It's all written down. You guys have a copy of what we need to do.
Mhm.
So let's see what comes back. If the price goes up, it stays the same, you guys can make a decision.
Right.
We can start running it. We could run it at zero, we could make a profit, we could lose $100,000.
And this is all speculative, what's gonna
It's
happen.
all speculative.
My point is the same thing, and my point has not changed. We have absolutely no guarantee that we have anyone else that's gonna run it for us. And it's not that difficult to move forward. You've already made an outline of a plan. It is not difficult to move that plan forward, to have a firm set design of how to proceed if we have to take it over.
Right.
And I think we need, and we owe it to the town to at least get to that point. Because if this fails, we have to have something to enact and not start debating about how to do it then.
Fails, we'll know by April, by first week in April, as per the contract,
Right.
or as per the RFP. We'll know what we got back.
And the
If we don't get anything-
and the
if
hardy
we don't get
argument from the Board of Health was that 4 months isn't enough time to get ready to do it. Well, if 4 months isn't enough time, then 2 months isn't enough time.
4 months
We
wouldn't be
need
enough
to
time.
start getting ready.
Yeah, 4 months is enough time to study the issue to be sure that dumping the contract is in the best interest. But in 4 months would be enough time to get it running.
Absolutely, and that's what I've always said, we can absolutely do it. And I think we need to be prepared to do it. I think we need to kind of firm up the steps we need to do. If we were gonna have to take it over, if this fails, if, we need to have the step ready to take it over. Doesn't mean we need to call and get the prices now for bids, for transfer station, for landfills versus incinerators. We don't need to call to see what we can get for paper, or if someone wants to pick it up and make all those contracts. We just need to know exactly which things we need to do.
You guys have that, I provided that
Before.
already.
Mhm. Yep.
Sounds like there's no legwork to be done other than to make a few phone calls.
There's more discussion that could be made over if we wanted to, the only thing I said, the only purchase would be a packer or not a packer. But that's, that's a decision that, something we could discuss in the meantime, because that's not a decision, if we did want to buy a packer, that would have to go out on a bid, and that would take some time. So you can run it without it, you can run it like it is and not do it, so there's really, I guess, there's not a rush on it, because you could go out to bid in September for it if you wanted to.
Beginning of July, we had no idea what the process was. At this point, I put enough time and effort into this thing, I know exactly what the process is. I've told the board exactly what the process is, and if this doesn't move forward, if the Board of Health doesn't like the price that comes in, if you guys don't like the price that comes in, that's the process we're following. Come hell or high water. So, that's where we're at.
All right, in the meantime, please forward me the RFP as it's gone out,
Will do.
and the previous RFP that was put forward before for the sludge.
Mhm.
That way I can review those. And I will look for more information on the things I told you I was concerned about, and see if there is concern there or not.
Mhm.
But I don't know yet, so I'll delve into those and see if it warrants a discussion.
Okay, I guess we'll look for the appropriate motion.
I move to adjourn at
I'll
8:36.
second. Don't forget to sign that.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.